Romans chapter 4, verse 19. The Bible says, and being not weak in faith, he considered not his own body now dead when he was about 100 years old, neither yet the deadness of Sarah's womb. He staggered not at the promise of God through unbelief, but was strong in faith, giving glory to God, and being fully persuaded that what he had promised he was able to perform. So this is a story of Abraham, our father of faith. The Bible has already said he was not weak in faith. He considered not his own body which was dead, that could not produce a child, nor the deadness of Sarah's womb. In other words, faith means I have failed to consider. Yes, the symptoms are there, but faith means I have failed to consider. As an example, I might have high blood pressure, but faith says I have failed to consider. I might be diabetic, but faith says I have failed to consider. I might have cancer, but faith always says I have failed to consider. And the Bible then says about Abraham, he staggered not at the promise of God. And that's where believers must operate at, where they are not staggering at the promises of God. Because the God who gave the promise in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. It means that Word, it was there in the beginning. So heavens and earth will pass away, but my word will not pass away. Hebrews 13:8 says, I, Jesus Christ, the same yesterday, today, and forever. And God does not change. So believers must not stagger when it comes to faith. Believers must not stagger when it comes to the promise of God. Whatever God has made as a promise, believers must take it as it is, and they must be strong in faith and keep on walking and refuse to consider and refuse to say this is it. Yes, the symptoms are there, they are clear, but faith says I'm not considering that. I'm considering what God has spoken. God, what has God said? He says, I'm the Lord that healeth all thy diseases. Finish, and that's all. So believers must come to a time where they understand the promise of God, where they read the promise of God, where they have a connection with God. And when you've got the connection with God, which is the author of the word, it becomes easy in your Christian journey. You will never stagger, you will never have any challenge. So Abraham, in as much as his body was dead, Sarah's womb was dead, he did not consider that, because that was not part of scripture. That was part of science. Science had said, Abraham, you are 100 years, you are old. Science had said, Sarah, you are 90 years, you are old. That was science. That was the doctors. They were correct. But according to the curriculum of God, according to the syllabus of God, it was still possible. Because God had said, Abraham, thy seed shall possess the gate of the enemy. So in other words, even if Abraham could have been driving a car even at 200 kilometers per hour, even if he would have an accident, he was not going to die until his seed would possess the gates of the enemy, until a son is there. Why? Because God had made a promise. So Abraham believed in God, because faith cometh by hearing. Hearing what? The word and the voice of God. And Abraham listened to the voice of God despite symptoms that were against him, despite symptoms that were working against him, despite time that was contrary. So a man that has got faith can live even in a harsh economy, can live even in a world that is so bad. Why? Because they are looking to what God has spoken. And when God has spoken, just like what he said to Joshua, as I was with Moses, so shall I be with you. Whatever Joshua would do, he would come back and say, God, you made a promise. And God would never